Don't let your wife, your potential partner in life, slip up because you didn't follow up. Just like sales, always follow up. Because if I didn't follow up, I would not be married to my best friend, my partner in life. I would not have the beautiful kids I have. Probably wouldn't even be on this career choice right now. I probably wouldn't even be making this podcast. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Ignite the World podcast, episode number 6. Together we stand, the importance of a loving relationship. I am your host, Jamie Dottie Garza, and if you have not done so already, please hit the subscribe button so you never miss another podcast episode. And if you are one of those out there who love this podcast and love YouTube, all my podcast episodes are on video form with tons of extra and awesome, inspiring short form video content, positivity available on the YouTube channel at Ignite the World Podcast. Check it out. Peace and blessings. And how fitting is this? Right before when you guys get this episode is going to be a day before Valentine's Day. And I want to talk about a loving relationship and the importance of a loving relationship. And I have been blessed to be in a loving relationship with my partner who was in the trenches with me as I was learning and growing from a 22-year-old, learning how to be a man, all the way now to being my wife that I love more each and every day. And that's the podcast episode I want to talk about. I want to talk about love and the importance of it and just give some background stories of our love story and how it blossomed because it's not traditional at all by any means. It's not like we were high school sweethearts and always fell in love with each other and kiss, kiss, smooch, smooch. No. In fact, we were like Usher because we found love in the club. And I'm going to get into that story in a little bit. But really, I want to just pour into my partner I'm doing life with, who I love immensely, who is a mother to my beautiful kids, who's a solid glue in my household. I call her a professional homemaker because God has blessed me so much with being able to keep her at home and making our home a safe haven for my kids, for our dog, for myself, for her. And God is good. To God all the glory. We just keep growing and learning more about each other each and every day. And I'm truly blessed for you, baby. I love you, baby. Yeah, Miss Garza. I love you so much. And I know Valentine's Day, when you hear this and you watch this, because my wife loves watching the video podcast version of this. Fun fact. I mean, how couldn't she? I'm her husband. She wakes up to this each and every day. But baby, I'm telling you, you're gonna be surprised tomorrow. And fun fact, I don't even like celebrating these holidays and stuff. As I go more truth into the Bible and realizing what's truth and what's not. However, fellas out there, I am also actually Granny Roslin always said this. You could be a fool, but don't be a damn fool. I will not just ignore Valentine's Day. So I know better than that. So baby, I'm telling you this right now. I hope you love the gift tomorrow. But yeah, everybody, I want to just give some context to a background of how me and my wife got together. And it really started in 2012. And actually, no, it was 2011. I'm sorry. It was 2011, late summer of 2011. And we met in a club, like I said. Context to that, though, I'm a Stafford boy. At that time, I was about, 21, 22. So hit 21, turning up on weekends, going to clubs. I'm used to someone going up more up north. I was in the height of my finding myself doing music videos. So I was living like a rapper pretty much. Always out during the week, turning up. That was my thing, making music videos. also working a full time job at Best Buy. And I remember one day, first of all, before I get into the story, the reason why I'm saying this, you want to have a strong woman in your corner at all times. And you want somebody as a partner to be with you during the low times, the high times, the mid times. It's all growth. So remember that. Because it goes a long way. Walk with me now. One day, I was at home and I didn't have nothing to do. And my buddy, Mello, shout out to Mello, because if it wasn't for him, I would have never met my wife. I said that, I think in episode 2, how grateful I am. He wanted me to go to a club in Fredericksburg. It was off Plank Road, and it was called Bridges at the time. Now, I was chilling. I was like, I didn't really know Fredericksburg. That wasn't a place I was familiar with, and I didn't really feel like going. But he stirred the pot, and what he did is he mentioned the fact like, "Oh, come on, bro. Like I'll be the designated driver, bro. You could just have a good time." Bingo, you had me there. I could turn up. I think at the time I was being ratchet. Was it with Four Loco? Was it Four Loco? Before, I think it was before Four Loco took that extra boost out. Cause if you know, you know. You remember Four Loco was just like out the roof, and then they took out the caffeine or something. I don't know. They took out that ingredient. I think I was off of Four Loco or a Spark. I don't know. I was pre gaming with something. I was drinking 40s of OE. Like we was really bringing 90s back. But I think it was a Four Loco, and you know, I'm pre gaming, having a good time. He ends up taking me to his Bridges. It's not there no more. Fun fact, I've actually proposed to my now wife there. I'll get into that in a second too. And I go in there and I thought I was hot because I just got my business cards made, and at that time I was doing music videos, and I went under the name Tristan Cinemas. Tristan is my middle name. Cinemas, I still kept the cinemas actually with Ignite Cinemas, so I kept something in there. And I thought it was hot. Couldn't tell me nothing. I had a denim jean vest on. I was really big into streetwear, so I was just draped in the hundreds. That was my favorite streetwear brand of all time. And I was fly and I was feeling myself. And we went in, and I remember at the time, Mello, I guess a girl he had relationships in the past, an old ex girlfriend came up to him like, "Hey, my friend thinks your friend's cute." And from there, I was looking for this woman who thought I was cute up in Fredericksburg. It wasn't until the party let out where the lights came on for a little bit and I saw the most beautiful, pretty brown ever. Like straight my type. Like my type, even since high school. It's always been brown skin. I used to make a moniker like, I like my woman like my liquor, brown. I used to be a big avid Hennessy drinker too, by the way. Yeah, good times. And she was short. She just had a smile that just radiated. And I remember going up to her. She smelled very good. I was just talking to her real quick. And I thought it was fly. I was like, my name's Jamie. Everyone calls me Dottie. I forgot exactly what I said, but I had my card. And I remember I was like, hey, use this. And I just slid the card in there. I thought it was a play. I thought it was a macaroni. A few days go past. I'm like, yo, she really didn't text the boy, didn't call the boy. So I hollered at my mans. I'm like, yo, like, what was the girl I ran into? Like, do you have her Instagram, her socials? At time Twitter was hot. So I got on Twitter, and I remember this. I think it was September 3rd. Yes, because it was my stepdad's birthday, and I was on the back porch and we were barbecuing, and I hit her up, and I slid in the DMs like, shoo, slid in the DMs 2011, right? And I was like, hey, how you forget about me? Like legit. And we talk about this to today. She really forgot about me. Like it wasn't no cap. She forgot. I guess, you had a few drinks, you forget. And After that, though, we had our first date and began to know each other. But the reason I say that for anyone out there, don't let your wife, your potential partner in life, slip up because you didn't follow up. It's just like sales. Always follow up. Because if I didn't follow up and if I didn't take initiative to slide in her DM or make another second point of contact, I wouldn't be having the life I do right now. I would not be married to my best friend, my partner in life. I would not have the beautiful kids I have. I probably wouldn't even be on this career choice right now. I probably wouldn't even be making this podcast and telling you these stories. So always follow up. A lot of people will say the dating game is trash now, and people my age around 30s and 30, 33s, 34s, 35s, and I believe it, you know? And I also believe that your partner in life is still there waiting for you to follow up. After going back to me and Yaya, one thing immediately why I fell in love with her was just how easy it was for me to talk to her. And at the time too, I'm gonna give some context. I was one who always was in long relationships. Especially I was the one who had a high school sweetheart and I devoted a lot of time to that to that to that girl, to that woman. And after like 5 years it just stopped. And that really stung me hard. Like that really hurt me and that really scorned me and that really turned me into savage mode, you would say. And it really made me very cold towards women and girls at that time. We're talking 20, 21, 22, 19, 19, 20, 21, 22, and in those age brackets. So where my now wife met me at that time, I wasn't fully developed. I was still going through what I call a hoe phase. And now that, I'm older and I've read the Bible and I try to live a righteous path, I realize that may have not been the most logical and smart way of doing things, but also in the Bible it says you must be, in order to be wise, it it says you must be a fool before you become wise. So I always look at that in that context, like I had to learn. And I still believe that actually, that you have to go through a phase of where it's no what ifs. Because imagine if I were just to get married right then and there at 2021. What if later on in life I would be like, what if I didn't experience this, or I didn't date this type of woman, or if I didn't try this, or it'd be too many what ifs. Now I know exactly ain't nothing else there for me. Like it's one right here, my partner in life. That's my controversial take on it. Back to the story though. I say that because I wasn't always the best man, quote unquote. I was still developing. Like my wife, I wasn't all the way put together of what you guys see right now or what's developing right now. My wife was in the trenches with me. I was developing, I was learning, I was. This is why I give my wife the world and all her flowers and the utmost kudos because while I was still trying to be Mr. Mac, Mr. Player, and yes, I always chill with her. One thing about my wife, I love saying my wife, my partner. One thing about Yaya is even back then, she always had something that no other girl I was talking to or I connected with had, and that was just a genuine our communication. Like our communication just was the best. Like we could be at Chick-fil-A. Fun fact, I remember our first when we first got something to eat, we went Chick-fil-A and I took the last sauce I didn't offer to her. She was so pissed. We joke about that, but like we could just talk about whatever. Like it was just it wasn't. It's still to this day. It's like that. It's like it's just the most natural, engaging conversations and just really enjoying each other's time. And for someone to be on this journey with me as I continue to grow, she's always supported me in every endeavor. And you need a strong partner like that when you're doing life. It's the best blessing you can ask for. I remember starting when I quit my job at Best Buy to become an entrepreneur, to attempt to have my own business. I was doing music videos at the time. I was taking flights to LA. I was working nonstop. Like I would go to Midi East Studios. Shout out to Midi East too. Shout out to Phrase, East Storm. They were a big pillar in my early development in that time frame. I would never want to miss opportunities. So if the big stars are going to Midi East, I would go there and sacrifice so much. And in that time, she would sacrifice time with me because she wanted to chill with me. I wanted to chill with her. I loved her, but it was something I was so passionate about that she understood, and she never like stopped me from going for my dreams. And that's something I always admire to this day. She's always constantly uplifting me and pushing me and having confidence in me. And as a man, that's the that's what keeps me going even harder today. Just talking to her and just having someone believe in you. Like my mom was always someone who believes in me. So to actually have a partner like that, it's incredible. And then, you know, it's not always rosy. It's not always peachy and geechy. Like there's gonna be trials and challenges along that way. But she's stuck there with me. And she continues to stick there with me. You know, every phase of growing up into a man. I remember when before my youngest son was born, Carter, in 2016, I got in a I almost lost her. Almost lost. She was about to leave me. And I remember it was at a party. We had a New Year's party, me and my bud, one of my best friends. And it was a certain situation that happened, and it was just that almost split up our friendship. And I remember at the time I wasn't living righteously. I was low key a functioning alcoholic who was leaning on a lot of alcohol, specifically Hennessy. I remember that year I added it up. I spent about $4,000 or $5,000 in Hennessy. I had a Hennessy habit, and now that I understand where I was coming from. It was just I was chasing an empty feeling and trying to chase that again each and every day. And I felt like this alcohol was needed for me to be creative, to make the best music videos, to make the best creative art on whatever I was designing in Photoshop. And I felt like it was needed to be the best version of myself, which is absolutely wrong. All you need is the Holy Spirit. That's that's what I'm embodying now. So I say this for context for those who I want to give the bigger picture of everything. I wasn't built just like this. As my wife always says, Rome wasn't built in a day. I used to hate that quote, but now I understand. Back to the story. At that time, I was I was being a jerk. I was being a typical man. My DMs were just brutal, you know, and she went through them and she saw all these girls in there and you know, she was fed up. You know, she'd been dealing with my stuff for too long. I was a dog for too long. And she was about to leave. And she was really about to leave. Like it was at the edge. And I remember I invited her back to make her some ramen noodles. Something simple as that. And she came back that day to my apartment, and it was rough. I really thought I was gonna lose her. And then a few weeks later, about at the end of the January, I found out she was pregnant with my son. So when I say Carter really saved my life, when I said in the last episode of Fatherhood, he really saved my life. Because without him, my wife would probably not be in my life. You see how this is all going in circles? And one thing I tell my wife now, now that I read the Bible, now I'm learning the power of this and what it means when you're saying the vows and we share the same rib and we make that oath for God. Like, I don't consider, and this is me personally, I consider all that a learning experience. We were off and on, might have been a relationship. Unfortunately, I did cheat a lot. But again, it wasn't under this oath because now that I'm married, I have a certain conviction. Those thoughts don't come my mind no more. And I'm the type of person, I learn things the hard way sometimes. But that's the best way I learn a lesson. It's like I tell my kids all the time, you either win or you learn. And I felt like those moments define me of who I am now. But now that I have so much empathy, I put myself in her shoes and I'm like, man, I had really the most loyal ride or die woman vouching for me. And she always saw this version of who I am right now, pouring into you guys right now who's talking to you. She saw this in 2012, 2013, 2014. I didn't think marriage was in the cards for me. My wife did though. Now look. And any woman, and I said this in my vows too when we got married May 21st, 2021 at the Dominion Club. Shout out to the Dominion Club. Shout out to Tanya Baker too, our wedding planner. Shout out to the whole staff there, all our vendors. Shout out everyone who came out. That was epic. My wife let me come down with the Stone Cold tag team belts, with the Stone Cold Shatter. She let me have that. Shout out to you, baby. I love you, baby. Got a little sidetrack. I got a little hype. I love my wife, if you can't tell. But going back to what I was saying, she had that vision the whole time. In my vows, I said, any woman who had that type of vision is a woman I want in my life. Because if you can see that far in the future, I need you by my side. Hands down. And that's where we're at right now. She's always had that vision since 2011. If it wasn't for my wife, let me tell you what, and this goes back to why you need a great partner, the importance of a loving relationship. Look at how much I've grown. And if you know me from, past, if you know me personally, who I'm talking out there, and you know my past, look how far I've come. It's because of the loving relationship that I had. And in real talk, if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't have God in my life right now. I remember I went through a phase of my life before my son was born, and I thought that I was all into the universe. I was all into the new age type of thinking, like, oh, it's the universe, and there's no such thing as a God. Now, I grew up Catholic. I grew up with some type of understanding of God and prayer. Excuse me. But I drifted away from that in my 20s, my early 20s. And I remember my wife challenged me to go to church with her for Easter. And I went. And I was battling a lot of demons, a lot of anger, just a lot of narcissistic traits, I wasn't a nice person. And me and my wife have so much great communication now. Communication is everything too. There's no such thing as over communicating. I want to let that be known. Rather over communicate than not communicate and then get things twisted and cause fights. But now that we have so many open discussions each and every day, it could be a podcast each and every day we talk. But she was telling me, things that triggered her back in the past, and I didn't realize until now. I'm just feel like a complete jerk off. But some of the things I was mean. It was like almost this facade, like, hey, I could cut it out when, I'm out in public with family and stuff, but I would just turn into an a-hole who very smart at the mouth. I've always had a smart mouth. I always could puncture with words. Words hurt. I tell my kids this too. I'm like, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt. That's cap right there. Because words can damage you. Words can make you doubt yourself. Words can make you have triggered trauma as you grow older. So I'm just like, man, sorry, you know, when we have those discussions. And when she got me into going to church that day, I started to open my mind because I think I was more like embarrassed that I didn't know how to have a relationship with God. And she just told me, like, just talk to him. And I remember from that day, I used to take a lot of walks and I used to run a lot. And I would just talk to him. And to this day, it's just intensified even more as I've been born again, I've been saved. I always mention. And again, in the Bible it says, in order to be wise, you must become a fool before you become wise. Here I am, and hopefully, these stories and this realness can resonate with someone out there, whether you're younger than me or you might be going through a breakup or you everyone has a partner out there for you. God has that for you. There's someone out there for you. I think oftentimes in our culture, everybody wants to have it fast. Everybody wants the Amazon before it was Amazon. They don't want to be building it up with Jeff Bezos when he was in that humble home office with just a desk. They want what's now. And it doesn't happen like that. And if we think about everything, like nothing happens like that. Nothing, not even a plant. You don't just water a plant and then the next day it's a banana, like a full grown plant or a full grown tree. Like that takes time. And that's the importance of potential loving relationships, is that it does take time. Like you go through phases, like you grow. It's not all meant to be great and all rosy. After we got married, me and my wife, the wedding happened, and then it's like, oh snap, marriage. Like when everything fades and everything done celebrating, now here we are on the marriage route. And what we realized is like, wow, we were like robots. She was working, I was working, and we would just come in, parent, and then and our communication. It took her to leave her job because it was very toxic. And I stuck my foot down and I was like, yo, ain't no one gonna be talking to my wife like that. It hit different. And I was like, God's gonna guide us. And it's gonna be what it's gonna be. And he keeps doing it right now. But that just intensifies our relationship and our love. A lot of people I I grew up, by the way, I grew up watching my grandpa take care of everything. That's the OG way. He handles everything. My grandma was always home. I see my stepdad, same thing. So all this has been instilled with me. I remember when me and Yaya were living together before, you know, we were living together. I was always paying the rent. It wasn't no half, nothing. Like that's always been trained in me. I know there's a lot of debates online. Do what you got to do, like whatever's best fit. But as a me, I'm from the old school era. A man's gonna provide. See, I remember in our marriage counseling, shout out to Reverend Baker. He told the tears. He's like, it goes God, you, your wife, and kids. And basically, as a man, you're supposed to pray for everything and spread that down. It goes top down. So sometimes, it seems like everyone sees like my wife, a stay at home mom. She's lazy. She doesn't do anything. Or you just with the baby, man. That's the most important job. Like right now, our baby girl is the most happiest princess ever. And she's smiling. She is That's just a proven testament of how happy my wife was during the pregnancy and after. And the fact that she gets to love on her each and every day and not be robbed because you got to go back to work. That's God working right there. And what she does each and every day, she does like freaking 10 jobs. She is spanking it in the kitchen. Wow, she made homemade mac and cheese the other day. I'm a vegetarian. She spanked the mac and cheese homemade style. Out. It felt like Thanksgiving. Some cabbage. She sautés these vegetables for me with the lemon pepper. Oh, my mouth is salivating. She wasn't able to cook that much when we first met, and that's the reason I share it. She's grown. She's comfortable. Communication, love, loving your partner, just being transparent. Teamwork really does make a dream work and successful partnership. And it's a role that personally I had to go through. She's very stubborn. Think I gotta be right all the time. Oftentimes when we butt heads, it's like friction. But now, after a lot of the OGs always said in marriage, and I'm about to be on my 2 years, so I always look up to those who've been married for years and years. Never go to bed mad and start fresh the next morning, which has been tremendous. I will say, not only is marriage, depending on who you talk to, it can taint your views on it. Me speaking, it was the best. It's the best. Marriage is the best. Yeah, you have your ups and downs, but when don't you have ups and downs? Again, I'm the type of person who doesn't think good or bad. I simply think what is. I'm seeking truth. Just being able to have reassurance each and every day that you have a partner that's vouched for you, that's under the same umbrella. You guys are praising the same God. We're praying the same thing. We're raising these kids. We're making a better future for them and want the best for them and going after our next goals and being open with our dreams is the best thing possible. It's just you're saving energy and you're keeping the energy honed in. You're not spreading out, going to the clubs. And I'm not knocking the clubs. We done been to the club. Me and my wife done ran that season up. We chilling now. We cooling. We got Hulu accounts now. We got Peacock streaming. We got, we got, we adulting now. I don't even drink no more. I go to a club. I would still have a good time because I'm natural at that, but I don't want that energy around me. And isn't that coincidental? I met my wife in a club where it was nothing but alcohol and turned up music and jams and what I think Waka Flocka was hot. Round of applause. Shout out to Bridges where we got engaged. There's so much positive impacts that our partner can have, especially someone like me who deals with a lot of mental health issues. We she makes it she's really my rib. Whenever I'm having episodes or whenever she sees it, we have such a thing like where now like she knows something bothering me. She knows when I'm looking around, like what are you thinking about? I'm overthinking it. If my office is messy and just thrown over, that's how my mind is. Like she understands that and she just talks to me and she continues to uplift me. And those that's what you want in a partner. I'm saying all this because if you have a partner, keep riding with them. Have that vision, pray on it. If you're supposed to still be there, ride with them. If you don't have a partner, these are just things to be aware of. And just advice I can give to anyone out there. But you're better as a unit. Again, I keep saying I would not be here without my partner I'm doing life with. We doing life together. We building a home, building a life, raising kids, conquering our dreams, and uplifting God each and every way. We just want to be a light to others. I'm so blessed that I have a strong woman who's tough as skin, one of the most toughest women I know, and that's by my side. I remember my best man. He said, "Thank you for being the sure thing." He said that in his quote, "Look what love can do." Shout out to Marcus, and I tell my wife that all the time. Thank you for being the sure thing, because this is what love can do, and it's going to continue to be what love does. Always support your partner. Communicate though. Can't stress that enough. Communication. Even when it's not the most, you're scared to open up, communicate, and just listen. That's one of the big things I always had a problem with was listening, just shutting up and listening. I would always cut off and have something to say, but actually actively listening, having empathy. Because of that, we've been able to save so many arguments happening because I realize what things trigger her and tones and how I need to talk, and it's day by day, just like everything else. But baby out there, yeah, yeah, you deserve everything that you have right now and everything that's happening in the future. I just want to say I love you so much and thank you for being my wife and choosing me and riding with me through the mud, through the trenches, and seeing this empire and building starting to gravitate and believing in me and rooting for me, being my favorite cheerleader, my only cheerleader. I love. Thank you so much, baby. I'm getting all mushy on this episode. Why not? It's Valentine's Day tomorrow. And if you don't have a Valentine or you don't have a partner yet, it's okay. Everything's in due timing. Some of the one things I learned about on my journey is it doesn't matter what you want right now. It's not our plan, it's God's plan. If you would have asked me in 2011 when I met my wife at the club, I would be proposing to her at that same place in 2018 and I would marry her. I'd be like, ha, yeah, right. That wasn't in my cards for me. Marriage, period. My wife changed that. I was always scared of getting screwed over. You know, I had trust issues. I didn't ever want to be burned. I think that's what's going on in society now. I was speaking to one of my potential new clients the other day. We're in a meeting and she told me she was celebrating her 35 years of marriage. And I was intrigued. I was like, wow, congratulations, you know. And she was telling me about her daughters and how they said the dating scene is whack. And her daughter, I think, was like in the 20s, 25. And I was like, you know what I think it is? Because I hear all the time too. I think people are so scared to open up and they're on edge and no one wants to open up. And in order to really intensify a relationship, you got to open up. Like imagine right now if I was on this podcast and just speaking like, oh, everything's a fairy tale, everything's cool. There's no vulnerability there, no vulnerability there, so you're not gonna connect with that. But you know what you are gonna connect with. You're gonna connect with the fact that I've been keeping it real during this whole podcast episode and all these podcasts and giving you the real stories of what builds that. And I think that's the important things to think about. There's my wife right there. She knew I was talking about her. I love you, baby. Oh, look at my daughter right there. Is she dressed to get on this episode? She can come, no? Look what love can do, real quick. I was telling you about the importance of a loving relationship, and this is it right here. Hey, Cedar baby. If you're tuning in this podcast and you are listening, thank you very much. But go check out the video version of this because you'll be able to see my beautiful daughter, Kari Rose, who just turned 4 months, who's turned up at what, 10:45, who's waking up because that's what she does at night. Yeah, I'm putting you on Front Street, baby. But when I'm telling you about having a wife who is the glue in the house, look at this happy baby. We get to enjoy this each and every day, huh? She's going to help me close this out with you guys. Going back to what I was initially saying by this wonderful surprise that was not planned, you got to open up. Your partner in life is waiting for you. And life is just so much better with a partner. Two heads is better than one. That's what the old saying is, right? Continue to pray. God will always lead you and trust his discernment. If it wasn't for my wife, I would not have this bundle of joy, my daughter. And now, growing up, I said this in the last podcast, hopefully she could find a man who can love on her like I love her mom, who can provide for her like I do for your mom, who can use myself as an example of a caliber of man she wants to spend life with, who could protect her, who can soothe her, who could communicate with her, who could pour genuine love into this heart. And that's what it's all about, full circle. Say bye, Kari. Say bye-bye. Love you. You're a natural on camera already. She is a natural. That's all I got for you guys. Teamwork makes the dream work. We're still learning marriage. We're still learning each other. And that's the beauty of relationships and a loving relationship. Continue to pour in. It might not be all mapped out right then and there. It never is. But just think about the future and let this story and how my wife got that ring be inspiration for you guys. And one day I'll have her on a podcast. You know, my wife doesn't like getting on camera like that. She's bomb at making TikTok videos. She just made a TikTok video now. I'm like, she genius. I got her on camera a few times, but one day I'm gonna get her on this podcast and we'll be able to pour in a little more. But that's all I got for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy this. Thank you for listening. And as always, I want to remind everybody, we are all like sticks of dynamite. The power's on the inside, but nothing happens until the fuse gets lit. Ignite the world, baby. Peace.